Welcome to more World Crazyhouse Championship round of 16 action. Looks like I'm getting here just a few moves late, but this is the first match, or the first game of the match, between International Master Opperwezen, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, although I don't imagine I am, and National Master blitzbullet. And this is going to be a great one, guys. We've got a very, very tight matchup. The record is 29-28 as it stands right now, and I had a very difficult time predicting the victor from this in the prediction tournament, so let's see how it goes. I did pull up the profile pages of the competitors to see what they're all about. Opperwezen, of course, is a very, very strong bullet player, the best on lichess, and that's saying something. And in Crazyhouse, peak rating of 29.37, and currently in the live ratings, ranked number 3. Blitzbullet, on the other hand, in Crazyhouse, peak rating of 28.89, and ranked 7 in the live ratings. So okay, let's get back to the game. We have d4 and we have a modern. Okay. Sack on g6. Alright, we're all caught up, I think. Quite even on the clock. Black's king is a little bit exposed, lacking any pawns to cover the light squares. But seems to be material up. Black does have some threats of his own. He's got this bishop bearing down on h3, this bishop looking at g2, and this knight also looking at some light squares. Right now I've got 21 spectators, so let's see if that continues to climb. I know it's in the middle of the day on the weekday, so we're not going to be getting quite as much as you might in the evenings or in the weekends. But 21 is a respectable amount of spectators anyway to start off with. This is a very high quality match, and it really deserves more, to be honest. Alright, Opperwezen snagging a rook. The threat right now is to drop a pawn on h7 and a rook on g8, winning the queen with tempo. Blitzbullet is probably considering taking here, although that's probably inadvisable. This is interesting. He's going to allow this. Yeah, the king must take, because otherwise if the rook takes, he's going to be mated on h7. If you drop a queen there now, the king runs, so he's not electing to do that just yet. Wish I knew what was happening in the chat here. Alright, looks like white has a substantial initiative. Probably a winning initiative. Yeah, mate is going to be very soon to follow. The king is prancing up the board. Yeah. That's going to do it. Okay, first game goes to International Master Opperwezen with the white pieces. Let's see what National Master Blitzbullet can do with the white pieces now. e4, knight c6, flexible move, 2 knights defense. Okay, we got 4 knights. And d5. This is a opening I like to play myself, so I'll be curious to see how this pans out and see how Opperwezen handles it. Placing a pawn on d3, stunting the development of this pawn and the liberation of this bishop. But Blitzbullet nonetheless finds a way to unwind, exchanging a few pieces and replacing this pawn here, driving the queen away, and now advancing this pawn and liberating the bishop. So white has a big space advantage here. Well, a modest space advantage. development is roughly equal, although white has more open lines than black has. That's one of the problems of this line, is that this bishop often remains undeveloped, and this can be a tender spot because of that. Given that you can't castle kingside so easily. Alright, knight e5. This is looking like a tender spot, these light squares. Let's see what black can drum up here. It's going to develop this bishop, looking at this square. Possibly pawn at d3, pawn at e4, yep. Blocking that bishop out with tempo. Does he want to drop back here, or apply more pressure by creating a battery on f3? Anything else to consider here? I don't think so. I think either dropping back or bishop g4 are the options. Maybe bishop d7, but that's awfully passive. Yeah, bishop g4 is chosen. a3, driving the knight away. This pen isn't a glaring issue just yet because he does have coverage from this knight on e5. So where does this knight want to go? It's going to be awfully misplaced on a6 unless it can reroute awfully quickly to c5. But that's going to take a lot of time. Maybe he's considering just sacking here. Okay, he's going to... Okay, that's interesting. Going to exchange, open up this rook. Maybe knight here, although that doesn't seem to lead to much. Black doesn't want to concede by being forced back. Knight a6 would definitely be a concession and a sign that white is progressing nicely. So black wants to find an active solution to this problem. Queen d6, it's active. it's active, I'll give him that, but it seems wrong to me for some reason because this square remains weak after an exchange. Oh no, he's just looking at this knight. Duh. But still, what about bishop a king here? You're fine. So he's just going to guard this knight. He's not going to go into any fanciful tactical complications. Simple solution seems fine, but this fork is deadly. Okay. Bishop on. Ooh, maybe just king d7. Is that possible? You don't really want to drop a pawn here. You could just take that. Maybe with a knight even. Okay. I was going to say it might be interesting to take it with a knight, because then you have this potential discovery and the discovery on the queen, but that seems fine as well. This knight, it's dangerous to take because it exposes the king, but nah, I think it's too dangerous to take. Yeah, so it doesn't, because of the pawn drop here. I was going to say white has no knights in hand to drop with check, but he does have a pawn drop here on e6, so black is going to take the rook. And now, had white had another knight in hand, he might have been able to check even and then drop a pawn. But instead, he's just going to drop back, and black fills this void in his position with a bishop drop to make sure the queen doesn't come in on that square. Queen drop on g2, solidifying the kingside defense, and just making sure that since opperwezen is so far down on the clock that that strikes me as a very cautious move and a safe move and probably a good one, but just making sure that he doesn't fall subject to any nasty threats on the king side. He's castling queenside out of dodge, and now king takes. Yeah, opperwezen is too far down on the clock to make any progress here, I think. He's going to throw in a few spite checks, but it's not going to be enough. Okay, 1-1. White has won each of the first two games. And now opperwezen is playing his Nimzo Larsen that he loves so dearly. b3, bishop b2. He knows his stuff quite well. And blitzbullet is adopting the setup that many players like to play against this, with a pawn on f6 and a big center, blocking out this diagonal as best you can. Yep, and okay, so here, after the pawn push, white tries to liberate his position, and especially this bishop, who's blocked right now, by rerouting this knight and then sacking. That's actually not even really a sack here. It's 2 pawns for a piece, which is adequate compensation in Crazyhouse. And without that sack or semi-sack or whatever you want to call it, White's position is a little bit passive. But with that included in the position, the double knight capture on e4, getting rid of Black's big center, his central pawns there, then it's very playable, very playable. Black looking at this square. You'd love to have another pawn to create some queen factory over here with the exposed rook. Here, pawn on, stuff like that. Sacrificing on c2 so that he can distract the queen away from this square. It's still a sacrifice though, you're not winning that rook clean, so it's still a sack of a piece for a pawn. But you do finally get this queen factory in, and that's going to be very dangerous, especially with this back rank so weak, or first rank so weak. For example, if you move rook h1, just pawn at g2 is coming, takes. It's a very common tactical motif in Crazyhouse. It's pretty much impossible to stop these pawns from promoting, so blitzbullet is deciding whether he wants to create this queen factory, quote-unquote queen factory. He does. I would say this bishop can always hop to this diagonal. What does White want to do here? I mean, he's going to block that off with a bishop. That's curious. He can even just promote here instead of capturing. I think Black's going to win this. It's even on the clock. F3. Do you want to sack there? Okay, so now he's going to take that so he can replace here with check, driving the king away from this square possibly so he can take. If king here, maybe a rook on. Yeah, White's position is... He's going to have to navigate with this with extreme caution and extreme precision to survive, and I don't think it's possible. But I've seen crazier things. So now what? Threat, of course, is just queen at f1 takes queen. G takes f1 equals queen mate. It's going to take that bishop, boldly capturing that material. Maybe just takes, or queen here. Are there any threats on Black's king? Possibly with a knight drop, if you allow White to get that tempo. Knight drop. King can't step here because of that mate. A rook on, knight here, there, rook on, rook takes, knight's mother mate. So pawn would have to take, and then you have like rook drops and stuff. But okay, so in the meantime, Black is not allowing White to get any tempo. But his material resources are quickly evaporating. So where does White want to step? Does he want to block that even? The pawn at f5, or this queen is going to hop up here and possibly menace a sack. Actually, no, probably something like queen here, blocks, takes, and that must be mate soon. Maybe the king can run up here, but it doesn't look like it's going to be difficult to escape. Yeah, Matthias is saying queen e2 mates. I believe that. Queen e2. Queen e2 block, and then you just take here, I think. Or even queen e2 block. You can play like h5. And if the king takes, then you can take on either of these squares. So he's going to go a different route, but still driving the king out into the open. It still looks pretty hopeless for White. Black's figuring out the most accurate way to finish this off. Doesn't really want the king running this way, maybe a bishop here or something, but okay, he's going to allow it. Maybe king here, bishop on here, king here, and rook to d8 or something like that. Looks like opperwezen is busted. And that is indeed the way the game transpired. Okay, so first game to black here. National Master blitzbullet pulls ahead 2-1. And in so doing, climbs back above that 2700 threshold. A very impressive mark, to be sure. Alright, I've been seeing more of this a6 d5 stuff lately. It's interesting. It's a very interesting way of playing. And he goes for this firefly or cheesy bread gambit type play. Couldn't take there with the queen because then this pawn would drop. Oh, it's still dropping here. Bishop on, simultaneously blocking off the queen's communication and defense of this d4 knight while also threatening some stuff in the light squares. Sack on f2 and this pawn's hanging. Black opts for a tactical solution. This cannot be taken because then c2 hangs with a fork on the queen and the king. It's also threatening this pawn. So something like this is possible, I think. Maybe not great, although I don't know. Takes, king takes, pawn push, knight takes, and then this queen trade is in the air. Okay, so it just white just calmly develops. Now, although it's not so calm, as a matter of fact, it's also subtly threatening this pawn at d7 move, which would be devastating to black's king. So black blocks that off. This is a suspect move, often because of this very type of idea of just sacks on e6. He does have this knight covering it, but white has a lot of attackers on that square. White opts to drag the king out, so maybe you can sack here with check, although whether or not that was necessary is... It probably was, actually, because if knight takes here with check, then this queen trade is possible with check. So, yeah, so maybe this pawn move was important to be inserted in that sequence. Alright, so what's going on? Lots of stuff hanging. This knight, this bishop, threats on the king's side. This pawn, it's undefended. This pawn is on pre, so opperwezen deciding whether he wants to take on f7 or f6, figuring out which is safer. So what's the idea if you take here? Is he just going to drop more pawns, or... Okay, so he decides to take this f7 pawn. Yeah, I don't know about that. He's just allowing this queen to drop. What was I missing after... Was there some killer blow after king takes the bishop there on f6? Queen takes. Maybe thought queen takes here with check was too dangerous. Which is very possible, of course. So opperwezen seems to be getting the short end of the stick so far in this matchup. Legion Destroyer asking what was wrong with king takes f6, and to be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I think he was too worried about this queen check. And if dropped, then he would have had a knight on here and stuff. So what's happening in the meantime? Gone silent here, just trying to evaluate the position, figure out what's going on. Black would like to keep this square open, if possible, so that this knight is not able to be captured because of a knight fork. Although that's probably not even a great idea because white has threats of his own with the queen in hand. So you got to figure out a way to keep tempo preserve tempo here. Yeah, Mathe's confirming that queen takes d4 was going to lead to mate in that position. Okay, so he does drop a bishop on this square. If king takes, knight drops somewhere, probably. So king steps up to g3. He's going to insist that this knight be captured. White instead captures that with the bishop. It looks like blitzbullet is in full control here. I don't really see any problem taking this knight now. Unless I'm again missing something. Actually, this hangs, so maybe just... he's going to take it. Figures he's safe enough. Or is he? He's going to get a pawn on here with check. Picking this up? Yeah. Very real possibilities for opperwezen to swindle here. And that's going to be mate. Rook drop. Knight covers this square. Very well done from opperwezen. Wow, I was calling white to win that handily, but that was not the case. Opperwezen fights back 2-2. 2-2. All right, it looks like we're getting a kind of a reverse of what we just saw. Opperwezen playing this 2 knight and d4 break now with white instead of s-black. Pawn on e5. So playing the same position, a tempo up, seems like. Okay. Castle queenside. Castle queenside. I like that. That's inventive from opperwezen. I would have just, let's see, consider just e3, bring this bishop out. But nope, opperwezen says, oh, I'm fine castling queenside. I want to bring this rook to the center. He's not worried about pawn drops on a3 eventually. And of course, with a king, the queen like this, you always have to be a little bit wary of knight drops in the long term on one of these squares. But again, of course, it's not a problem right now. Just thinking positionally when you castle queenside, or in any situation when you stack your king and queen like that. All right, well, we've got a novel position, that's to be sure. Something I've never seen before, I don't believe. Which is all you can really ask for out of these matches. Some exciting, interesting, creative play. It's interesting. If takes, what's the idea? Because this is covered. And this is covered 2 times by the bishop and the knight. So what am I missing here after takes? Maybe queen takes this knight was possible. Diverting this pawn and a knight drop. That was probably the plan. Okay, so it gets this h takes g7 in. Now do you want to capture this bishop with check or just leave that hanging in the air and capture the knight? Opperwezen opts for the latter option. King sidesteps, or do you want to block it? He blocks it because this is a pen. Gets another bishop in hand and cuts off the king's escape route so he can no longer castle. It's a nice move. Black even want to block that off, the knight drop, so he can castle. Yep, he does. And now knight comes on pressurizing this because the downside of putting this knight on is that it blocks the queen's access to f6. Very nice. He's managed to create a few weaknesses in black's camp. Black castles, sacrificing that pawn to get safe. Get his king out of the center. But white is getting very active here, and black is very defensive. Black's going to allow this queen to drop in order to get some activity of his own. So he's going to get a queen for a rook and also some pawn drops in on white's camp. White's deciding whether he wants to take here or even get out of dodge, get out of this diagonal. So he's not going to take that queen, deciding it was too dangerous. Mathe's asking about pawn at g5 instead of bishop c4, so on this position, bishop or pawn at g5. Yeah, that seems pretty good because the queen is covering the square that cannot be taken. And it seems like probably a better solution, actually. Well spotted from Mathe's. Mathe's a very strong player as well, of course. Being knocked out in the round of 32 by blitzbullet himself, I think. Or maybe it was Bugzilla. Maybe it was Bugzilla. One of the two. So anyway, 39 seconds on the clock. It's even in that respect. Black's knights are covering a lot of pretty important territory, covering all these squares. But this knight is always free to be taken. Captured on e5. It's very important that this knight covers this. Man, I cannot draw errors for the life of me. Covers this square. So now opperwezen is going to have to start motoring a little bit, pick up the pace a little bit with time dwindling rapidly. Look at this storm of knights. It's a pawn storm versus a knight storm. And now he sacked a few of those knights in order to kind of reverse the situation. Now opperwezen has knights in hand and blitzbullet has pawns in hand. Can he defend? Nope. No, he cannot. That's going to be mate. Whoops, with the queen looking at mate next move. Okay, so knight f3 from blitzbullet, and opperwezen takes that last game. So now it's 3-2 in opperwezen's favor. Blitzbullet playing the modern / Catalan fianchetto system from the white pieces. Opperwezen taking the opportunity to claim a big center. And also creating battering along this diagonal, which he is forced to concede with this knight nicely centralized and forcing the bishop away from that square. Knight drop, looking at this and this simultaneously. White ops just for fast development, and black can take that if he wants. But I suppose white is contending that he can probably just even play like queen here, the knight moves away and take, or something of that nature. It's probably too slow to take that pawn on b2. Knight's moving forward on the queen side, and now you're opening up this bishop, looking at this square. So is the king going to run to f7? It very well might. No, he's going to sack the queen. Is that necessary? I'm not sure whether that was necessary. Probably was, actually, because he had two pieces looking at this. Ah, yeah. So blitzbullet is definitely coming out of the opening with a striking advantage here. See whether he can capitalize and even score back up. Oh, taking the knight. Okay. White's king is very safe, and blitzbullet is just going all in on the attack, sacrificing this queen for this knight, taking this rook, and just completely opening up black's king. Black doesn't even want to take this. He just wants to make sure he gets his pieces out of the way of his king so he can finally get to some safety. He's going to sacrifice this bishop as well. But white is for choice here. Pawn at f3. That strikes me as too slow, perhaps. Maybe not, though. Maybe not. Because I don't see an immediate way through for white. I don't see anything forcing anyway. Like knight drops always come into consideration, but that'll just be taken. Because a rook drop is pretty toothless. Or you could even sidestep because this bishop looks at this square. Actually, no, you have a knight on that square now, so disregard that. But now the knight drop comes on. I think that must be taken now. It is. And now the rook drop, so bishop here, bishop here. Okay. Yeah, this is better, of course. So you pick up another piece on this square when he blocks, or pawn rather. And that's going to be mate. This is taking a queen on, is going to mate the rook drop. Okay. So blitzbullet does fight back. 3-3. Nothing short of what was expected with this very tight matchup. Double fianchetto from opperwezen, thrusting the game immediately into novel waters. Novel territory, as Jan Lee might like to say. Alright, this is always possible in these types of lines. The sack on h3 and a pawn drop on g4. It's nothing special, because you can just replace pawns on these squares. Knight c3, developing and kicking the queen away. Where does the queen want to go? Here? Maybe. Okay. You're not threatening mate, because this knight defends that square, but it's very actively placed on this open file. So white blocks that off. Bishop at b2, it's not really threatening that much, because both of these pieces are guarded. I suppose you just wanted another knight in hand, maybe to place on this square. Okay, yeah, so it's going to sack on f2, and now this other knight's going to come in handy. It does end up landing on this e4 square, looking at these two squares. Pawn drop, side steps. Black scoops up another pawn with tempo. White elects to drop a knight on, so if this is taken, then you take with check. Black just moves queen, maintaining this threat. Queen is getting kicked all over the place, and opperwezen has constructed a massive fortress on the king's side. There's this one open diagonal here, but otherwise, look at all these pieces massed around the white king. Okay, so this queen is brought to the only open point of ingress or access. The thing is, even a pawn drop here or anything coming in on this diagonal is not going to be very dangerous, because the king just sidesteps, and without any presence on these light squares, which he's now trying to advance on these light squares, you'll make no progress. So you got to have pieces on both the light squares and the dark squares. Alright, black now has a rook in hand to white's knight. White can consider knight drops here, but that's not going to do anything. It's just going to lose a piece, because it's bishop and queen all look on this diagonal, so that's not really viable. White's going to place on this square, which is a better square for that knight, forking a few things. Black says, I don't care. He's just going to capture that knight on f3. And white doesn't want him to recapture on g2 as well, so he's going to take that back, as opposed to capturing here on c3. White remains very strong on the light squares. He's quite safe, I feel. He is up on the clock as well. Okay, he's going to sack a pawn here. Not sure. Okay. The point of that, I suppose, was to snag this g3 point at the end of the line. Up to 27 spectators now. Queen for a knight exchanged. This point is now open, so the knight comes back into the action, getting out of this and defending these two squares simultaneously. A knight drop here. Yep. I don't know whether or not you guys can hear that. I hope not, but there's a massive train whistle going on in the background. Alright, blitzbullet has found a way through with 23 seconds left on the clock. Opperwezen with a little less than 50 seconds, but he's going to be hard pressed to find a way to defend this position. Rook here is the immediate mate threat. Rook here as well. How do you defend these two squares? I don't think you can. White has nothing forcing on black's king. Knight drops here will do nothing. Rook drops do nothing. This game is going to go to blitzbullet. Okay, knight h5 strikes me as a spike check. He's going to try to come in on this diagonal, but that can easily be blocked off. And the threat of a rook drop on one of these two squares remains. A knight drop here will do the trick as well, so that cannot be defended. Opperwezen concedes the game 4-3 to blitzbullet. That was an important game to win, I feel, especially with the black pieces, because that very well might be a turning point. At the midpoint of the match, it was 3-3, now it's 4-3 with blitzbullet, and he has a white pieces, so... Alright, we've got an advanced French. When it comes to f5, that's exchanged. And yeah, white's normal plans in this and these types of structures are to pressurize the dark squares, whereas black will do God knows what. I'm horrible in the French. I have no idea. I'm pretty awful at playing the French. Like the world's worst French player. So I don't know. Yeah, this looks dangerous. This looks very dangerous for white, or for black rather. Can't take here because then the knight recaptures, picking up the queen. Maybe black's considering just giving that away. Like, no, he does not. Queen e6 preparing this capture perhaps. But even so, though, allowing this is not ideal because whatever takes on here is going to be dangerous for black. Knight takes, drives the king away, and this rook is now nicely placed on this central e file for if this ever gets captured. Yeah, so black's just going to be defending this entire game. So if takes, just capturing on g2 or g7 probably. So he does capture on f6, allowing the queen to drop. Probably just in order to open up this line and try to get some threats brewing against white's king. Okay, I was going to say, yeah, sacks and knight drops come to, well, that's defended, but sacks and knight drops come to consideration. White has to watch out for a rook on the back rank, but what about like bishop drop here? Is that so crazy? There, takes, and then he has no more knights to place. And sacks, well, sacks could actually amount to something there because of the bishop drop. So I'll take that back. So how does he want to defend against this, or does he? I was going to say, yeah, maybe it's not necessary to defend against it, a rook drop king up, but if that queen drops with check, it's going to be dangerous. So yeah. So the knight comes to f4, and the idea is to drive the king onto this file so you can take there with check. Therefore, the king steps up to e3. You want to take this? Probably, yeah. Probably want to take this. It's probably from Fishy. Yeah. Tell him I'm recording. So yep, I got your back, Fishy. think it's important that these matches be recorded because these are all very high quality matches, and you want to lend some legitimacy to the Crazy House scene by recording these and streaming these and commentating these and giving some exposure to these very talented players in this Crazy House World Championship. It really deserves to be a bigger spectacle than it currently is, so doing what I can to help out the scene. Whether or not my commentary is actually good remains to be seen. That's up to you guys. I would much prefer these to be commentated by a higher grade streamer, professional type streamer, a better channel like Atrophied or Jan Lee, and they'll do some of their own commentary, I do believe, in the later rounds. But I don't think they were available for this. So okay. opperwezen with 7 seconds left to find mate. He's not going to be able to. This can be taken, I think. Queen promotion can just be taken after that. Bishop's gonna come on. That can be blocked, right? Yeah. Black is not gonna have enough. I do not feel black is gonna have enough. And now white should have mate somewhere. And rook drop. Knight's coming on. Okay, so Blitz, yeah, blitzbullet is up 5-3 now. I think that's right, 5-3. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5-3. So blitzbullet needs one more to win the match here. 4-4. Oh, it's 5-3. Am I mistaken? What am I missing? Yeah, because it started here. First game to opperwezen, 2 to blitzbullet, 2 to opperwezen, and then the next a few to blitzbullet. Rematch offer declined. What's that all about? And they're not here anymore? What's going on? That's not the end of the match yet. We've got to make it to the first is 6 by 2, best of 10, and it's 5-3 now. So blitzbullet is 1 game away from clinching the match, but not there yet. So what's going on? Okay, so I guess it is 5-3. I'm not sure why they've stopped. Maybe they're just taking a restroom break or something. And so opperwezen taking this time to collect his thoughts, I imagine, and figure out what's been going wrong, what he can do to maybe change the lines or change his approach, or figure out where he's been going wrong, try to come back, try to collect himself mentally and get back into the match. And he's very capable of doing so. I would love to see him come back and make this a little bit tighter. All right, guys, we're back into it. Opperwezen, facing a 5-3 deficit, must win this game to stay in the match. Starts with d4. His Nimzo Larsen was somewhat thoroughly refuted in the last game he played with that line, so he's trying something different. Playing the Trompowski. All right. Blitzbullet going with a modern setup again. Something like a symmetrical Grunfeld, it looks like now. And h5. I kind of like that. h4 played, h5 just blocking off that pawn's advance. Staying quite close on the king side. Opperwezen making sure the pace is picked, or kept up. Doesn't want to get in a huge clock deficit in this game especially. And now he's managed to make some light square weaknesses in the black camp at the cost of a piece. Piece for 2 pawns anyway. Black now will be looking to get castle queenside. Queen e7 and castle's queenside, if possible. Or he'll just progress in the center and create his own attack. So that's what Black elects to do. He takes on c3, gets this nicely centrally placed on this hole on e4. Okay. White looking to alleviate some of this light square pressure, getting rid of this bishop, and now you can take here with tempo. I'm not sure what he's thinking about here. Just take that bishop. Black offers a draw. That may be a misclick or maybe a psychological strategy. Seems pretty precocious to me. Offering a draw. I think if a draw actually takes place, they play on. You got to get to 6 points by 2. But draws, of course, are very rare in Crazyhouse. You really only see a draw if there's 3-move repetition, and that doesn't even happen that often. It's not like you can achieve a draw in game or anything. There's no pieces on the board, so somebody will eventually get outplayed in Crazyhouse more often than not. Maybe a bishop at a3 could be inserted in some positions with tempo and covering this square as well, but opperwezen would rather maintain this piece or retain this piece in hand so it can be placed more actively elsewhere perhaps in the future. Black is going to ignore this threat so that he can capture on f3. Knight g2, king sidesteps. Is bishop at h3 possible? Looks to me like it's possible. And opperwezen must be careful here. This is a must-win game, remember. Oh, Fishy is saying 5.5 is a winnable score if equal number of whites. I'm not sure how that would work actually, but so I suppose if this is drawn, then the game goes to blitzbullet, maybe, or the match rather. And okay, draw is probably not going to happen. All right, point of this move I think is just to open up this f2 square. And oh, look at these bishops menacing some very nasty threats. Mate threats. Just pawn at f2. Yeah, this is a very scary looking massive bishops bearing down on the white king. How then do you defend that? You defend it by blocking off this bishop, so now pawn here no longer mates. You can sidestep. Black is considering taking here. Black is considering dropping a pawn here. Black is considering taking here anything? Probably not. Pawn here is chosen. And now either yeah, I don't know. Giving black another rook in hand. That seems dangerous to me. Maybe stepping up was better. Maybe not. Maybe I'm missing something. Hard to see everything when you're trying to talk at the same time, but blitzbullet, the match is on his mouse now, so to speak. Rook comes in the first rank. Queen is taken. 20 seconds to 27. Opperwezen making some threats of his own. He's taking that queen back. Can this rook on d1 be taken? Opperwezen thinks so. 21 seconds to 14 seconds. Can blitzbullet finish it off with half of the time on his clock? Opperwezen is going to be taking this. He cannot, I don't think he can take that queen. He's got to figure out a way to place a king in check and take that queen in check. He uses his knight because he doesn't have another one to place. 12 seconds to 5.8. How do you keep pressuring this king? He's going to throw on a spite check. It's not going to be enough. He takes a queen now. He's going to run. He can run up. He can run up. And he does it on the clock. Well done from opperwezen. Finding a way to survive just long enough. And the match goes on. 4 to 5. Yeah, 4 to 5 now. And look at that. The net record is now tied up. But the match is 4 to 5 in blitzbullet's favor. Opperwezen, very resourceful as always. He's playing his d5, e6, a6 stuff again. The draw after knight b2. Got some very strong players in the chat. We had Mathace earlier, very strong player. We have Mugwort now, another very talented player. I think Mugwort's also from Australia. There must be something in the water in Australia, guys, because we've got, like, I think Bugzilla is from Australia, and of course Jan Lee and Master Tan, all in the top 10, and Mugwort now, and all Australians. Blitzbullet, I think, is from one of the northern states in the U.S., maybe Michigan or something. I think it says on his profile I was looking at earlier. And then opperwezen is from one of the, if I'm not mistaken, one of the Scandinavian countries. Let's see if he has a flag. The Netherlands. Okay, the Netherlands. So it looks like black has managed to snag a little bit of material here. Okay. If castle's queenside, you'd like to do that, just to get your king out of the center and centralize this rook, but the problem is there's a pawn drop on a3. At e6, yep, striking while the king is still in the center. Pawn drop here isn't a great big deal because a rook drop here is defended by this bishop. He decides to block the square off nonetheless, maybe because of some threats along this file. That's a formation you don't see very often. 2 knights in the first rank side by side. Maybe a rook on here or a queen on here is probably called for. Rook on. Not sure, can that be taken? Because you got pawn drops here, but you might be... No, probably not, because takes, pawn on... Ooh, that strikes me as pretty dangerous. Pawn on, knight, king side steps, takes, and then do you have something on white's king? Pawn at d7 is chosen, and then just, okay, dropping the queen in the center. Considering maybe sacking on e6 after a block, although nah, that's probably not going to amount to much. Black blocks with that rook. Maybe just bring this rook to the file. Now this is threatened. Okay, something's going to appear on e7, I think. Bishop is chosen. It's going to be taken twice. Even on the clock. White scoops up a pawn and asks black, now what, essentially? With the ball back in black's court, he's going to have to decide whether to attack or to defend by placing pieces like a knight here or something, defending on the king side, a pawn on f7, shoring things up on the light squares, or to drop things towards white's king. And black decides to assume a more defensive posture. Pawn at c6, strong move. Can you just retreat the rook? White has no diagonal pieces in hand right now, but he can get one. So you don't really want to just defend this rook. So yeah, he's going to drop it back. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. A diagonal piece in hand would be very dangerous. So white's considering taking this. He's looking to figure out whether or not black has... Ooh, that's a better move than what I was considering. Rook at d7, yep. He still has no diagonal pieces. You would love a bishop. Bishop, king up, rook, and then taking here and driving the king out. Rook comes on, threatening multiple exchanges on this square. It's again coming down to a time scramble. Opperwezen a little bit down the clock with 24 to 28 seconds. He's defending tenaciously, throwing all the pieces he can around his king side and defending all the very important squares. Putting a queen on, simultaneously defending this file and maybe attacking some squares on the king side. Rook comes on, defending this square, and now white places a queen on. 14 seconds to 16 seconds, even on the clock. Some pre-moves thrown in. Black has... His king is open, but he's got a lot of material for it. Black has figured out a way to turn the tables, and now he has tempo. 8 seconds to 8 seconds. He has tempo. He's going to be able to throw some pieces on with check, continue the attack. He's going to exchange twice on d1, promotes to a queen, 5 seconds to 3 seconds. Pre-moves galore from this point. Throwing on as many checks as you can. Oh no, he's managed to... He's getting the check back to blitzbullet. Can blitzbullet come back? No. Opperwezen manages to take it in the time scramble with 1.3 seconds remaining, having given blitzbullet the tempo back and check back. So blitzbullet could very well be regretting that he wasn't able to convert there when he had check there in the final few seconds of that game. 5-5, if I'm not mistaken. 5-5, all tied up. Opperwezen comes back and manages to send this into overtime, I think, because now it's going to definitely go past 6 games. Well done to Opperwezen. And you often see this after a very important time scramble such as that, and the next game, the opening, will be played at that, very similar tempo, because they're so used to, their adrenaline's surging a little bit now. Maybe Opperwezen thought they were playing King of the Hill, getting his king to the center. That's funny. So okay, I was still reeling a little bit from that last game. Let me take a look at what's actually going on in this game, an equally important game at 5-5. Another d4 opening, a London system, another modern one, blitzbullet. Okay, pretty standard line. Black sacrificing the queen to come in on black's or white's king side, but I don't know if that was wise, giving white another queen, because black's or white's, I keep confusing the colors for whatever reason, but white's king is actually fairly comfortable on d1. He has no problems on the back rank. He has no problems on c2 because the queen covers all these squares quite well on top of the, sitting there like a crown on top of the king. So yeah, white's pretty safe. Although now black does have a ton of minor pieces and a ton of kingside covers as well. So okay, so it's still very much up in the air. Very complicated middle game. Fishy is the organizer of this tournament, and he's saying that more people in the prediction tournament. If you wanted to, you could enter into a prediction bracket for a modest prize fund as well. He's saying more people in this prediction tournament should have predicted tie breaks, so the game going past the 6-game mark or the 10-game mark. And I think I did. I can't quite remember, but I think I predicted this game or this match to go past that point, going into a playoff, where the first person to win 2 games in a row will take it. I think I might have predicted like 7-5 or 8-6 or something. I can't even remember who I'd picked now. Maybe Opperwezen. Maybe I picked Opperwezen. If only because he's maybe more experienced in pressure situations, because he's the #1 bullet player on lichess. An extremely impressive title, that. Having said that, he's down 1 minute to 1:40 on the clock here, in this 10th game of the match, or 11th game of the match. He's got some nice rooks on the open files, bearing down on black's king. But he only has a queen in hand, and then there's no very tempting squares to place that on. Black seems to have the important squares covered. And now look at this. Black has like a side-by-side double battery here. That's nice. These bishops and these bishops. That's very aesthetically pleasing. So white's problem is he does have this queen in hand, a heavy piece in hand, but what's his plan from here? How does he come in on the black king? And it's difficult. In these positions, you got to play somewhat positionally, actually, and like find a square for that queen where it'll be defending and attacking simultaneously and covering some important ground. And that's what opperwezen has done. He's just placing on h4. It's lined up against the king, sure, but more than anything else, just getting it on the board to influence a lot of squares. Black has constructed the Great Wall of China over here with all these bishops and all these pawns, all these diagonal pieces. opperwezen with 21 seconds on the clock. He's managed to get down the clock again. That's been a recurring problem. Yep, Cool Story is calling it, just as I said, the major pieces versus the minor pieces battle. White resigns because he's allowed black to get so much play. And now black has the material as well, so he's going to be dropping a queen. Black's king is far too safe. 6-5 to blitzbullet. What a great match. 6-5 blitzbullet. And now he won the game with black, so now he has a white pieces. Can he convert? Can he finally pull away in this match by 2 points? We're going down well-trod territory this time. This opening has been played several times in this match so far already. Keep getting paranoid that things aren't recording, but yeah, things seem to be going well. I got my mic's on. Okay. Yeah, opperwezen's gonna have to be very careful not to get too far behind on the clock again this game. You'll notice that the tempo has been picked up quite a bit in these last few games as opposed to the beginning of the match, where maybe in the beginning of the match they were still feeling each other out and kind of thinking through the openings, but now their blood's flowing and the adrenaline is flowing, and they're playing through the opening stage a lot quicker than they were. Now that we've achieved a somewhat different middle game, now opperwezen has taken this moment to think, I think, for the first time this game, really. But blitzbullet is just keeping the pressure up in the clock, just bam, 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 coming at him. opperwezen, you gotta move, man. You're falling too far behind the clock. He decides to go for queen a4, bringing the queen into the action. But yeah, I don't like it. I think the queen is better placed around the black king to defend some of these very important squares, because this cannot be taken. That's mate immediately. opperwezen is going to be hard pressed to win this one, and this is another must-win game. He's going to have to go all in on some attack. Maybe he can't even castle queenside as he'd like to do, because d8 is cut off by this knight. This knight couldn't be taken, and it controls some prime territory around the black king. Looking very bad for black here. Although that said, he's managed to. This rook is actually very nicely placed on this file. D takes, so that when a pawn comes on, the king can run to some sort of safety. This square is always an escape square for the king. Knight c5, mature move from blitzbullet, both attacking the queen and cutting off this square. So now a rook at e8 move will come with all the more power. Queen comes back to c6, still looking at this square, this e8 square. Does queen take? No, king takes. Step up to e7, so now the rook is back on the square. And I'm not sure if you should have dropped 2 rooks on this square, because now you've given up your only 2 pawns. And now the pendulum, I do feel, is going to swing back in black's favor after this queen exchange. Black, wow. Blitzbullet gave up the tempo there by exchanging 2 rooks and thereby giving away 2 pawns. Now, can black find a way to create some threats? He has a massively stacked pocket, but only 19 seconds to find a way through. He cannot give up tempo because a pawn at f7 or a queen at f7 drop is going to be too powerful. So he decides to cover this off with 17 seconds. No time to think. Oh no. He couldn't take that because then the queen was going to come in on d8. Queen at e8 is now a very real possibility. The king will run. The rook comes on. Queen here is not possible. The rook covers the square. Can that rook be taken? Black desperately trying to cover some of these important squares. Rook drop here comes anyway because he has another knight on that. And that's mate. Blitzbullet has done it, guys. Blitzbullet has clinched the match with a 7-5 overtime victory. Blitzbullet moves into the candidates round, and there you have it, guys. Blitzbullet is, I believe, the second player to move into the candidates rounds, where there will be not a Swiss tournament as I mistakenly proposed last time, but a round-robin tournament in the candidates. Blitzbullet has clinched the second spot. Very exciting match. That was a lot of fun to commentate, guys, and hope you guys enjoyed it as well. So there will be more round of 16 matches coming up. Joanna and Atrophy may be the next one, although they may actually be playing later. Let me think for a second who's playing next. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But anyway, you can check that out on the Crazyhouse World Championship page if you so desire. Just to show you how to get there, you can go to anybody's profile who is part of this Crazyhouse World Championship. Click over here, and then you can read the form and figure out when the matches are. So I think it's in the round of 16. Anyway, it's somewhere here in the forums where you can read when the matches are scheduled. So anyway, I'm going to cut off the recording there, and I plan to be back in the future with more round of 16 action and maybe even candidates round action. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Well fought from both International Master Opperwezen and National Master Blitzbullet. Very exciting games there, and really back and forth topsy-turvy match until Blitzbullet managed to pull away. So looking forward to future matches. I'll catch you later.